We have Keith, the owner of My Shower Door and My Architectural Glass. Thank you so much for joining us today, Keith.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. This studio is awesome.
Thank you. So let's get right into it and tell me about a little bit about your upbringing and how that led you into what you do today, or maybe other business ventures before getting into what you're currently doing.
I love the way that you frame that question because I do a few keynote speeches and I start off by saying I'm a 32-year cancer survivor, and cancer was the best thing that happened to myself and my family. And when I was 12 years old, I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's non-lymphoma. My mother, I have myself and a brother that's 4 years younger than me, is also a business partner. And at 12 years old, they found out I had the Hodgkin's non-lymphoma. My mother was the neighborhood beautician. She cut people's hair out of the basement of our house. And my father sold alarm systems for like commercial, like ADP, but it was in Western Mass. It was a small company in the 80s, in the late 80s. And when they found out I had cancer, they really, much like most business people, your back's up against the wall. And they leveraged their home. And they started a service business as a subcontractor for contractors. And it was shower doors and closet shelving. And this was right after the recession in 1987, Wolf of Wall Street. And so in 1988, they started this business. And a year later, they were able to do enough business to get me the treatment in the Boston Children's Hospital to put me into remission. And so my brother and I ended up growing up in an entrepreneurial family right on the back of my parents' worst nightmare. And there's a lot of sayings, blessing in disguise, always on the far side of something tragic, always good always happens. And this is just another one of those examples. Our business was 100% built on getting me the treatment I needed. Now you fast forward 3 decades later, my mother was tired of being up in the cold weather and told my father, listen, we need to move to Florida. And he's like, geez, we've been building this business for 18 years. What, are we just going to get up and leave and, start over? And she says, no, we'll retire. We'll sell our business, the building, the house. And my brother and I had come down for a long weekend to the Naples area because that's where they wanted to eventually move to. And we were starstruck by what we saw. Again, we were from a very blue-collar area in Western Mass. And when we saw Naples, the amount of wealth and money we saw between the airport and Fifth Avenue, it was almost unbelievable to us because we were never exposed to that in the area that we were from. You just didn't see that. And so when we went back, we said, go ahead, sell everything. I drew the short straw to stay on board with the new owners that bought my parents' business at the time. And I stayed for 9 months. My brother, mother, and father relocated. They bought a place in Bonita Springs in the Brooks and opened up shop right here at Wiggins Pass, where the podcast is, My Shower Door, in 2003, September of 2003. So we just had our 20-year anniversary.
Congrats.
Thank you. And during those 20 years, a couple more situations that were on the face, like catastrophic, the recession in 2008. Here we're 5 years into a business, which is a pinnacle mark for any business owner. You make it by the first 2 years, that's good, but you're not out of the weeds yet. If you make it to 5 years, okay, now it's a healthy company, cash flow is good, turnovers manageable. And we come into the recession. And what happened was it got rid of almost all of our competition. Now, we were very conservative financially, put all the money back in the business. We were not over leveraging ourselves, buying all these houses on the come like everyone else was doing. And the recession, even though scary, got rid of our competition. And at that point, we started to purchase property because we knew in the future we wanted to get into vertically grow our business and do manufacturing. And we took that time to do that. And when we came out of the recession, we were so much stronger and poised to grab a lot more market share. And again, the same thing on COVID. That was I'm sure you guys know, it was a scary time. Yeah. What's happening? People are freaking out. We sent everybody home for like 35 days, paid everything. They didn't miss a beat. When all these teammates came back, the work culture was 100 times different for the better. Very appreciative that not only was the worker appreciative, but the family members of the worker were extremely appreciative because people that knew people that were losing their jobs. They weren't getting paid as much, or, the company maybe we're not even going to be around anymore. And so all these on the face really bad things have really been the best parts of our business. I'm almost getting to the point now where I don't get excited for something bad to happen, but I know that if we can just stay strong through this, something really good is going to happen on the backside of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How old were you when you got involved in the family business?
Well, right away, as soon as I came out of treatments, like they were cutting the closet shelving in the basement of our house. My brother and I put all these little caps on, and we were getting yelled at by my parents. Now as an entrepreneur, I understand, like, wow, I have a 14 and 15-year-old child. If one of them was to get cancer now, it would cripple me. Mm-hmm. And then to go try and start a business on the back, like there's enough problems with starting a business outside of your family. Now to say one of your children is going to have cancer on top of it, it's tough. And they did it. It was a very good lesson. It's really the backbone. Culture is the number one component in our business, and there's not a close second. Matter of fact, we kind of have this saying where we work for our employees. My father's real big on that. You'll never hear him say, my people, my employee. I work for them. They need something, I get it for them so they can perform at a high level.
Mm-hmm. How many employees?
Right now, 192.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Yeah. 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 So we have 10 brick and mortar locations on the west coast of Florida. And then we have our factory on Alico Road that services all those brick and mortar locations. The factory produces tempered glass, and in the construction industry, there's a lot of other areas where there's tempered glass needed, not necessarily in shower doors or wine cellars. So we actually manufacture for most of our competition as well. So if we're not doing the business on the front end, we're probably having our hands in the cookie jar at some point along the way, just because we have the manufacturing facility.
Did you go to college or straight into?
Yeah, I could barely read a page of a Harry Potter book. That's no joke. So I was not a big fan of school. Now, would I like to go back now? Yes. I think I'm mature enough to be able to do that and see the benefits, but that wasn't in the cards for me. I was very poor at comprehending, like reading. I excelled in anything I could do with my hands, or played sports, shop class, like all the traditional blue collar type of things.
What are the benefits that you think you missed by not going to school?
Well, from the financial standpoint, for sure. I didn't have the financial acumen as far as like reading a P&L and general ed. I didn't even know what the hell that was. Mm-hmm. Probably even 4 or 5 years into the business, I didn't know what it was. We all had our roles. That wasn't mine. Yeah. Because it wasn't a strong suit. So I think if I was to go back, and whether it be accounting, finance, anything around the money aspect of it, I think would have been a benefit to know earlier on. That said, I was 26 when we started the business. There's something to be said for me not getting the money that I really wanted at 26, because I wasn't ready to handle that kind of money. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a lot of people like that. I mean, look at basketball players. 75% of the basketball players, when they retire, go bankrupt in like 3 years. The financial literacy just isn't there. So if I had to go back, probably that, and I might even do something with engineering, just because the way we're scaling our business now, there's a supply and demand issue around structural engineers and anything in the trades, for sure.
What do you think is your biggest strength in business? Yours personally?
I would say 100%. On the face, I would just say sales, but it's even deeper than that. I would say not negotiation, but the collaborating with people, the emotional intelligence component is really what I've kind of honed in over the last 5 years, like obsessed over it. But I had all these reps for the first 15 years of meeting customers, doing business, making mistakes, saying the wrong things, letting my pride get in the way of making the right decision versus what felt right. Mm-hmm. And in the last 5 years, I've myself and one of the other team members with me, Jason, spent a lot of time on the emotional intelligence component. And the reason for that is we wanted to buy more time. And, there's only so many hours in the workday, and I can only do so much business. But if we were able to figure out what segment of people weren't actually viable opportunities, there's a study out there that says 20% of new opportunities that will walk into a retail business have zero intentions of ever doing business. The reason is they're looking for a competing bid. They're looking for consulting. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're doing business in another state, but they happen to be having dinner next door and they're intrigued by this. And so they want to pick your brain. And in the past, I would just be customer service ready. Like, I'm here to give you whatever you need, answer all the questions you want. And that could be a 2-hour ordeal. And they're like, well, this is, thank you so much. But do you have an office in Tennessee? Because that's where we're building. We're just visiting some friends. And I'm thinking, am I allowed to swear in here?
Of course.
Like, you motherfucker. I just talked to you for 2 hours and you knew this whole time you weren't going to do business. Shame on me. So it was a lack of awareness. And so now there are certain things that I'll say intentionally to kind of tease out if there's
those
even
answers.
A viable opportunity.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Have you systemized that?
Oh, yeah.
For your people? That way they aren't spending that amount of time?
Yeah. The hurdle there is it's a perishable skill. Mm-hmm. And so unless you're actively aware of this, you go back to doing things that we've been doing ever since we were young, using certain word tracks that should be eliminated.
Right.
And listening more. Mm-hmm. I found there's an addiction that people want to show you how smart they are. They want to be right. They want to correct you. Mm. And sometimes you can use that to your advantage. I'll give you a good example. So we have a retail showroom where we sell shower doors. A lot of times we get walk-in traffic. On average, 20 to 25 walk-ins a day, on average. And sometimes they'll come in with a set of plans, that's kind of rolled up because they're building a house and it's under their arm. And a typical customer would walk in the showroom, just like anywhere else, and before they're bombarded with a salesperson, you kind of want to look around, digest it, make sure there's nothing weird going on there, because if they were going to do business, they want to kind of just make sure there's no pentagrams hanging on the wall and we're not going to steal their money, right? They're just trying to be comfortable. They're like, no, we're just looking. And then you'd wait 10 minutes, like, we have a question. So I'd say, I got to figure out how to condense this process and really get into business. So when I went on this kind of journey of emotional intelligence, and I'll get into who I learned it from, customer would come in with the set of plans, or sometimes they come in for a sweep on the bottom of the door. They want to replace the sweep. So he comes in with a set of plans. I says, oh, are you looking for a new sweep? Because it's long and linear, kind of like the plans were. I'm like, no. We're building a house. Here's the plans. We want to come see what all of our options are. You did work for our friends, and they told us to come here. Now, let's just break that down for a second. I purposely labeled what I saw, but I was wrong. Intentionally. Like, I thought they needed a sweep, but I also know there's an addiction to wanting to correct people and show that they're right and I'm wrong. So I said, are you looking for a new sweep? And they said, no, I got a set of plans here. We'd like to show you we're building a new house. We got 3 bathrooms. Our friends referred us to you. Now, never before has a customer come into our showroom and said, I have a set of plans. We're building a new house. We need 3 doors. Our friends referred us to you. That is, for a salesman, that's massive information. Mm-hmm. It's massive, because I don't need to do all the value proposition stuff, because their friends already did that. Mm-hmm. They want to get into the meat and potatoes of this. So now, by purposely mislabeling the dynamic that I saw when they came in, they corrected me. Now we're in dialogue. Mm-hmm. And we're conversating. There's no more of this we're just looking around, tiptoeing around. Because what they're looking for is they want to make sure they can trust you. Mm-hmm. But when they see somebody, I think what people want more than to be right is to be heard. And when you innocuously say, seems like you guys are in a hurry, seems like you spent a lot of time on this bathroom, they're like, well, yeah, we have. And this is so important to us. This is where we spend a majority of our time when we're home, and we want it super high quality. Well, these are massive bits of information that I can use when I need to, rebuttal back to, I'm not just going to go into all the value proposition stuff. I'm going to give them the value pertaining to what the dynamic is that I just heard. I'm not going to litter them with all this knowledge to show how smart I am, because it's irrelevant. It's not going to land. And so I would say my number one skill set would be the collaboration with another human being, whether it's a coworker, customer, or seeking new opportunities.
So relationship capital, you're big on building lots and lots of relationships.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Matter of fact, do you know what the difference, you mentioned Grant Cardone, and I wouldn't mind unpacking that. I'm not a huge fan of his, but there are some things I do enjoy. But I did learn from him, what's the difference between a contact and a contract? It's an R, and the R stands for relationships. And the more relationships you can have, the more likely you will be able to end up doing a deal together.
Yeah, I like
and
that.
So contacts and relationships is paramount.
Right.
I mean, if you don't know anybody, you're not doing any business with anybody.
Yeah.
Right. And how does somebody go from 10 employees to 100 plus employees?
We just had our Christmas party this weekend, and we were out at JetBlue Park, and I saw the whole company for the first time in one shot, because we're scattered all over, the west coast of Florida. So we were all we rented out JetBlue Park, and we had everybody there at once. And it was the most humbling thing that I have witnessed since we started the business. Like, these people trust us enough to come every day, give it everything they have. And I don't know how the hell we got there. We've always empowered people. And I think and we've always showed them there's something to come in the future. Get back to the emotional intelligence. The fear of the unknown is probably the number one stressor for any human being, the fear of the unknown. And when we take on a new team member, not only do we show them what their day-to-day job will be, but we will show them what year 2 and year 3 will look like should they kind of go along with the program. And so now that takes that anxiety out of, well, I don't want to just be a shower door seller my whole life. Well, you already know what's going to happen in year 2, in year 3, in year 4. And so I think that's one of the few items that we do that I think has kept people from looking for other options. We always pay top. If you took all the other glass companies in the area, we're known for being one of the higher priced ones. Partially because we pay our people the most, because I don't want them going anywhere else. There's a long learning curve on training our people, just like I'm sure there is in your business. And so I don't want them looking for other opportunities. So if it's just because of money, if they want to go somewhere else because they want to try a different job or start their own business, all for it. But empowering people, I think, is definitely something that's critical. Never been a micromanager, almost to a fault. And that seemed to always help with culture. And then, when we really started to add the biggest amount of employees is when we started gifting away our business. So the first 3 stores out of the 10 were just owned by my brother, father, and myself. 4th, 5th, all the way up to 10, we gave away 49% of those businesses to what we deemed as like legacy employees, people that had been here at a minimum of 6 years, but showed signs of like really wanting to be a part of this company. So
were they like a manager or like a higher position for you guys?
Not necessarily. No, we did it for everybody because we had installers that they don't want to be in sales for whatever reason. They like working with their hands, but had been with us for a long time and have kind of elevated their career within that segment of the business. And we have several installers that are part owners. So every one of those new stores that opens up, we use as an opportunity to kind of, I don't want to say give them the golden handcuffs, but you can't have, if you said to yourself, God, I want to hire somebody that treats the business like me. Well, you're the owner.
Yeah.
And the only way you should be able to get someone to treat a business like an owner is if they're an owner.
Them.
Yeah, I mean, right? You hear Gary Vee talk about that. Like, how arrogant is a business owner to say, I can't find anybody that'll work like me, but but you're not paying them like you. So why the fuck should they?
Yeah.
Like that's
pretty amazing. That's cool.
Yeah.
It's very interesting because I feel like the more you scale your company, the more it seems like the founder or the business owner is putting more into the people, right? Because we just spoke to somebody today. He has 1,100 employees. And we were talking for hours about that.
So what is one or the two things that they do? Has he?
Yeah, so we talked, there's a lot of programs in place for higher ups and kind of that ladder to just give back to the employees. And he just went into detail about a lot of things that they do. But it's very interesting that seems like that's what the focus is once you scale to a certain point.
One of the other things I think separates us too is like every one of the owners in our facility is actively involved every day. There's no armchair owners that, like we don't need to. The business is at a point where it's kicking off enough money where actually none of the three owners would have to show up at all. That's not why we got into business. We love working here. It's taken 20 years to build up all the contacts I have. I would never think about walking out of the business at this point because it's like shooting fish in a barrel for me right now. I've gotten all these contacts and starting to build a name for myself and the company in this area. I couldn't imagine doing something else because I want to leverage my experience and my, pseudo-celebrity status I'm starting to get within our niche with the social media and just tenure of doing the same thing for 20 years. It makes it a lot easier when you're walking to a job site. They're like, oh my God, you're here? And like, yeah, is that okay? Yeah, I mean, this is unbelievable. I feel totally comfortable. And, and our employees see that I'm willing to we will never ask somebody to do something that we're not willing to do ourselves. That said, there's nothing that I won't do myself. Clean the toilet, doesn't matter. And so I think they see us working, I'm there before anyone gets in. I'm the last one to leave. And it's been like that for 20 years. I love it. And I think they respect that. And we get a lot of respect. We don't have a lot of turnover. So to me, that shows.
Yeah.
It shows.
Are you, if you lost it all today, how fast do you think it would take
Quick.
you?
I know. No, I could get it back quick.
Yeah.
I just had this conversation 2 days ago. And the reason is the emotional intelligence part. I was so naive. Like you've had situations, you guys, all of you, where you've bought something or let's say you're going to buy a new TV, new monitor, and you go over to Best Buy and you see what the prices are, but you shopped online and you can find it cheaper somewhere else, but the sales agent that you talk to maybe purposely, maybe accidentally said some things and had a certain demeanor that you just triggered something in your gut to say, you know what? This just feels right to buy this here. Even though I can get it cheaper somewhere else, something about this situation with this individual I'm talking to it feels right and I want to do this. I know how to do that now. And I didn't the first 15 years of business. I didn't. And when you're aware of those situations, I can identify within a minute and a half if it's a realistic opportunity. And within a 3 to 4 minute period, I can build enough rapport with an individual that will equal trust enough to be able to exchange money for goods and services.
I agree. I think with that experience, marketing doesn't feel like marketing, and sales, they don't feel like sales. And it's so different, I see, even online, when I see people promoting how to close a sale or how to be aggressive at sales, personally, not my thing. I don't want somebody to be aggressive when I'm trying to buy something.
Yeah. Who's somebody online that you see like that? Because I know somebody in my feed. And we touched on Grant Cardone. This other guy, Andy Elliott. I can't stand him.
I was gonna tell you.
He loves the guy.
But I want to say why. Or go ahead, finish.
Yeah. So I think they're great people at what they do.
Yes.
I just think that sales, it has changed so much where people don't want to, like, you go buy a car right now, it's almost like you don't want to buy the car, and they think they're doing a good job. So when you think you're being aggressive and good at sales, just by saying, sign here, or do this and do that, people don't like it.
Or you have your biceps.
Yeah.
The problem with it, the key here is lack of empathy, because that type of salesperson is not preserving your autonomy. A customer wants to buy, they don't want to be sold. And that mentality that individual does is persistence breaks down resistance. No, fuck that. Now, the reason why they're able to have a little bit of success is there's a segment of the population that doesn't know how to say no.
You said persistence?
Persistence breaks down resistance.
That's a good one.
The reason why I don't like that in the sales aspect of it is it doesn't preserve the other side's autonomy. Mm-hmm. And a high level emotional intelligence individual does not need to do that while still getting the same end result. Mm-hmm. And what happens is when you start preserving people's autonomy, a year, 2 years into the business, what you notice is your referral game starts speeding up at a velocity like no other, because the person that you end up call, buy, and let's say they have to buy because they're in a tough spot, that person is never going to buy from you again. And more than likely, they're definitely not going to refer you to somebody because they're like, this guy was a snake oil salesman. He's just slimy, but I needed to buy the product, so I did it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I don't like the guy like the Andy Elliott, is that persistence does not, and he claims to be the number one sales guru. If you're not using empathy when you're negotiating or selling to a new opportunity, you are not a high-level salesperson, period. Mm-hmm. You're a bully. And there's a market for that. It was traditionally known in the car industry. I see it down here now kind of bleeding over into like the AC guys. They come over and they're like, I know you got this problem, but if you had an extra $1,000, I already noticed this. And they just start like ticking, and there's no preservation of autonomy. Mm-hmm. They didn't listen to what I actually needed. You're trying to force me on something that's going to benefit you, that not necessarily going to benefit me. And I can sense that now very easy when someone's trying to sell something to me. And it bothers me. Yeah. I wouldn't do business with someone like that.
Right.
Period.
Yeah. And usually those type of people sell to the people that don't have the personality to say, I'm not going to do it. But then they go home and they're like, why did I buy this?
Yeah.
And
that's it.
They never come back.
Our intuition in every human being is so much stronger. I love statistics, so let me share this one with you. And then I'm going to give you an example. You have your conscious mind and your unconscious mind, okay? Your conscious mind, if you close your eyes and open your eyes for 1 second and then close them again, can pick up between 25 and 40 bits of data. 1 second, I saw a light, a TV, a couple other things. 25 to 40 bits of data. Your unconscious mind in that same second picks up about 25 million bits of data. Size, smell, touch, wind, like every aspect of the things that you just saw. Now let me give you an example. I drove to work this morning. I'm addicted to social media. I drive straight down 41, a lot of traffic, so it's safe. I'm on my phone the whole time. And then I pull into the shop today and I go, holy shit. Like,
how did I get here?
Get here. That's your unconscious mind.
Yeah.
Okay? Our unconscious, just like
muscle
breathing.
memory, you just drove.
Yes. And so when somebody is selling you something in a manner like this other person that we talked about, your intuition knows that, but some people don't have the know-how how to handle a person like that. How do I tame this person, or how do I politely say no? Mm-hmm. I'll never say no to a customer. I'll say something like, especially with voice. Voice is the most powerful tool we have. I'll say something like, how am I supposed to do that? And like when I say no to somebody, you're going to see it coming. But I never usually say no till 3 or 4 times. If somebody's really pushing and I'm trying to like preserve their time, I don't say no, but I'll try other things. Mm-hmm. And then ultimately, if they're just not hearing it, at some point it's like, I just can't do that. But I'll usually say something like, how am I supposed to do that? And the word how in particular is really surrounded around, it's meant to make the other person think. And what it's saying is, like, you fucking know I can't do that. Now, I didn't say that, but I'm putting it back on you. Like, logically, you're thinking, well, yeah, you're right. How can you do that? The cool thing is, no matter how they answer, you'll know where they're at. Like, if I'm sitting down and I price out the shower door and I got all the bells and whistles that they wanted, and he says, listen, I'm going to go ahead and buy this right now, but that coating you put on the glass, it's $250. I just want you to throw that in, and I'll go ahead and sign it right now. I'll start off by like, how am I supposed to do that? And he'll go, well, if you want the job, you'll just do it. Well, in my head, I'm thinking, well, I don't want the fucking job if I have to do that, because now I'm giving away most of the profit on the job is on that item. So I'd be like, I remember our conversation earlier. I'm like, seems like price is most important to you. And he'll go, no, I told you, we just redid this whole bathroom. My wife, this is her sanctuary. It sounds like she keeps it really clean. Yeah. And see how I start walking back into this.
I like that one.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to do that? Yeah.
How am I supposed to do that? And it has to be with a deferential voice.
Yeah.
That's another hack that I do. Curiosity. Mm-hmm. Curiosity has saved I get triggered easy. I don't like bullies.
And usually when people buy something, everybody that says money is not the problem is usually the problem when they buy something, because as soon as you give them the price, they're like, really? Is that how much it is for that? At least for what we see,
Especially if they haven't seen all the value built into it up until that point. So it's like a song and dance. I hate giving a price first. Yeah. I really try not to, there's another old saying, he or she who names price first loses, right? Yeah. If the person's intentions on the other side is to beat you up no matter what your price is, then you don't want to give price with that person. I'm just going to say it high. Well, then you're being disingenuous. Mm-hmm. And so I don't believe lying is ever a good thing. Ever. Yeah. Ever. Under no circumstances lying ever good. Because it's not a question of when it's going to blow up or if it's going to blow up, it's when. Mm-hmm. It's like lighting a stick of dynamite. Mm-hmm.
And usually people will say no it's hard to say no when you don't have all the information or you haven't shown all the value of it.
So here's another one, because you said no. I frame my questions when I ask a question. I try not to ask questions because questions can sometimes make people defensive. I will, how do I say this? What were you just saying?
I was saying that usually...
Oh, no.
Yeah, no.
I will frame my question to trigger a no. Mm-hmm. Instead of yes, like, where would be a good example? Instead of saying, did you want to go ahead and buy this shower enclosure? I'd say, would it be ridiculous to think that you'd want to buy this shower enclosure now? And the reason for that is, no. I think we've been peppered with yes by so many people that when someone says to you, you walk in a car dealership and like, you looking for a new car? Even though it's 100% obvious you're looking for a new car and the natural answer is yes, we are petrified to say yes because we know it's going somewhere.
Yeah.
And so by coming at it differently and saying, would it be ridiculous to think you're looking for a new car? It's giving the consumer the illusion of control. Mm-hmm. And people feel safe when they say no because they know it's not going anywhere else. When in reality, a no for you in that question is good.
Yes.
It's a yes.
Is a yes, yeah.
Yeah, but it gets you away from sounding like all the car salesmen or AC guys or whoever else tries. This guy, I'm going to just say this guy, you always hear in these videos, yes or no. You want to be rich, yes or no. He's starting to frame the way you think. Mm-hmm. And those are called tie downs. But the problem with that is it doesn't preserve your autonomy. And so a segment of people are just going to run away from that type of individual when you start hearing that line of questioning. Mm-hmm. And so if I'd said, would it seem ridiculous if we booked an appointment to come out and measure for this today? They almost feel like they're in control because I'm being very deferential. I'm being cognizant of their autonomy, and I'm giving them the control. And
it's hard to say yes to that.
Because it's not ridiculous.
It's hard to somebody say, yeah, that is ridiculous.
And if they did say it's ridiculous, I don't want to schedule the appointment to go out there. If they don't want me there, I don't want to be there.
Right.
I'm not trying to force them into that. Right. I'm trying to play the long game. I want the referrals. I want them to say, this is a not confident, but competent individual. And that's somebody that I would do business with again, because they were mindful of preserving my autonomy. Yeah.
Do you feel like in your business, because of the way it got started and where it really stemmed from, that fire of you being diagnosed with cancer, do you think that's what holds, like, is the backbone to the business? It sort of say.
Well, for the family, it is, because we were the core family. That's what like really brought us together. Because you hear a lot of people like, I could never work with my brother and father and mother all in the same like room. Most people would say, "Fuck that," or "I can't. I kill them." We wouldn't know how to do it any other way, because that's how it started, from the hospital to the garage, cutting the shell. Like, we've always been together. We all still live within like 3 miles of each other.
Oh.
So that it's, I do think the cancer was the catalyst for starting the business, but also how we got through that treatment is what really bonded us together, probably more so than most.
What perspective has that given you on life in general and business?
Okay, good question. So remember I told you I was diagnosed when I was 12. So now 13, I'm out of the hospital. 14. Most of my friends at the time that were guys were starting to, gotta be careful how I say this nowadays, starting to get into the other sex, or maybe even same sex. I was looked at differently because I had radiation and lost part of my hair. I had zero confidence. I was really late to that aspect of things happening, kind of maturing.
Of course. You went through something traumatic. Like you like had to live through something kids don't go through. So
while the same kids were kind of like making fun and shaming me, and like there was no way a girl was coming near me because the stigma, they'd be like, he's got cancer. Like, it was brutal.
Wow.
And so I immersed myself in the family business.
How old?
So at the time, 13, 14, 15.
Yeah.
But what it did was it built thick skin for me. That was the benefit. So on the face, like there was times I wanted to kill myself. I mean, it was brutal. I said, if this is how life's going to be, this is torture. But the business was an outlet for me to be productive and like meet other people that were much older. They were professionals, people that worked for my dad, his customers. They all knew us. They knew the story. So they welcomed us with open arms when we'd go to job sites and stuff. And that's kind of where I felt comfortable.
Yeah.
So that component helped a lot going through that traumatic time. It really helped when I started getting on social media, because most people, I believe, are afraid of getting on social media because of the fear of either being judged, the fear of being in front of a camera, and even more so, being in front of a camera in public when there's other people that aren't knowing what's going on. Like, to just be able to stand up on Fifth Ave and start doing a selfie video about someone's business, a majority of the population would rather die than have to do that because of the embarrassment or fear of being mocked.
Yeah.
I think you getting the big bullets very young was a blessing.
In disguise.
Yes.
Just like all those other things.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Because now that's why you are who you are, right? And I think that it builds you completely different from other people.
That's right.
And you're just using it to your advantage, So I think that. So I don't know, but sometimes you get to see a lot of, well, you said it with social media. People are scared about showing themselves or talking just because before they're thinking on how to be themselves, they're thinking on how to be somebody else, right? And when you go through things like that and people saying things like that to you at a very young age, it's like, what else? How worse can it get?
In my eyes, it couldn't get any worse. So like that was the bottom. Absolutely.
And you never truly own anything. right? Like no matter how ambitious or how big your goals are set, at the end of the day, you never really truly own anything because you don't take it with you, right? And I think having that type of perspective or being somewhat self-aware to that aspect, it allows you to do things with more of a better mental clarity, I believe. And because then you kind of play the game to provide as much value as you can instead of take as much as you can, if that makes...
It makes perfect sense to me now. 5 years ago, I would disagree with that, and I wasn't able to see it yet, but I had that epiphany moment. I had a perfect example of awareness today. I was at a job site for a very high-profile customer down in Port Royal. The customer has a liaison that speaks on his behalf because he's a celebrity. And his handler, who I had never met, we did this deal 2 months ago. Today was the day where we're starting the install. So we show up this morning. I showed up. All the guys, there's 12 guys there. It's a big job. It's our biggest one of the year. This guy comes out and he starts, who's in charge? And you could already tell by his tonality, like, holy shit, like, we're early, we have everything, we're clean, like...
What's wrong?
Yeah, somebody already shit in this guy's cereal, like, and it wasn't us, so, like... Now, the old Keith would be like, we're here, we're going to start working. He's like, no, I want you to do this, and he's barking these orders. And I said to him, it seems like you're under a lot of stress. Because that was the dynamic that I witnessed. And he's, just by that label and the deference that I put on it, he says, oh my God, the city was just here 30 minutes ago and they rejected our permit for this. And like, I already knew that I wasn't the reason why he was upset. Mm-hmm. There was 2 or 3 other things that happened before us to get there. I just happened to be the final straw. But being aware of these dynamics, whatever field you're in, isn't just the goods and services you have, but the goods and services that are involved with everything that's surrounding it. So maybe this contractor's got a bad attitude. Well, we don't know what he's going on in his life, or the job site, or whatever the stressors are on. So curiosity is the biggest hack for me to stop from being mad, because you can't be curious and mad at the same time. And 2, situational awareness. I know that this builder isn't, or this liaison guy is not just babysitting our company, but he's babysitting 3 other contractors that are there, plus the city was there. So when he started barking at me, instead of, it takes 2 people to fight. Mm-hmm. But if one's not fighting, you can almost turn it into a dance if your pride doesn't get in the way. Because usually when people yell at you, you want to just yell back. And it's really just a downward spiral from there. So when I said to him, it seems like you're under a lot of stress. You could see it hit him like right in the stomach. It almost made him think like, well, yeah, I am under a lot of stress. And by the time he finished explaining that, he said, I'm really sorry. He was never angry at us to begin with. The old Keith would have saw this guy come out and start yelling at me and would have said like, fuck you, do you want me to leave? Like, we waited 3 months. We've had this all planned out. And now you're showing up in the 12 o'clock hour. And like, this isn't very collaborative. Mm-hmm. But that didn't happen because of the situational awareness and the empathy.
It's so interesting to hear business owners like yourself having to deal with those situations. Sometimes you look at a company from the outside, you're like, wow, this is a huge company. And of course, if you're in business, you understand there's so many things that go on and so many fires you have to put out. And I think that just hearing it from yourself it gives a very interesting perspective on business in general. Like, wow, no matter how big you get, you're always putting out fires. And I feel like in business and in life, if you become really good at putting out fires, and you can even start to get like a little bit of a swagger to it, or get classy with how you put them out.
Well, that's it.
You win.
That's a 2 millimeter shift. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you how it's made me a better father. My son much like a lot of other kids, are addicted to the cell phone. And I don't see that as a problem because I'm also addicted to it. But he also doesn't like to clean his room. So he has responsibilities that he must maintain in order to have all these benefits. So I come home from work one day and I walk by his room and it looks like a fucking dirty toilet. And I saw all his friends out in the cul-de-sac waiting for him to come outside and play. And we're getting ready to eat. So usually I'd come home from work, we'd eat, he'd go out and play with his friends before it's time to kind of settle down. And I see him on his phone and I say to him, Riley, I'm about to tell you something right now that's probably going to make you so mad you are going to want to run away from mommy and daddy. And he looks at me like, now in his mind, he's thinking the worst possible thing, right? What could it possibly be? And I say to him, he goes, well, what is it? I says, how do you expect mommy and daddy to let you go out and play with your friends knowing you didn't clean your room? And he stops and thinks, he's like, so wait, what if I just hurry up and go, it'll take me 10 minutes. What if I just run and go clean my room, then eat? Is it okay if I go out and play then? I'm like, oh, that's a brilliant idea. and he's more receptive to doing a damn good job cleaning the room because it was his idea, not go fucking clean your room or you're not going outside. You're going to be grounded. I'm going to take your phone away. Now he goes and he shuts the door, probably flips me off. Pushes the shit under the bed, does a half-assed job, but by not using the fear factor, like most people do if they don't know how to negotiate at a high level, using the how-oriented question, the deferential voice, and I set him up in the beginning by saying, you're going to kill me. That's like one of my go-to. You're going to kill me. And so his brain automatically goes to the worst possible scenario. And when I say, how are we supposed to let you go play with your friend? It's almost like a relief to him that it's not whatever his brain was conjuring up. And I also gave him the flexibility to fix the solution. It wasn't a threat. I said, how am I supposed to do that? And he says, well, that's easy. I could go clean the room, then I could come eat, and I can go play with my friends. Absolutely. And he did it, and the job was really good. And it wasn't resentful. There was no anger. And, the emotions stayed at a manageable place. Yeah. And it was extremely effective. Yeah. Extremely effective.
It's because if you want to control people, you have to treat them good. And I'm saying control people because at the end of the day, there is always someone that controls the situation, right? In sales, family, girlfriend, boyfriend, wife, husband, there is always someone that controls it. You don't control, or you don't have control of your relationship in business or whatever if you don't treat people good. But sometimes the old school way of who's the boss is throwing people off, and it's making people lose because at some point you're going to lose. It's just a matter of time until that bomb is going to explode.
Yeah, people get tired of getting hit over the head. Yeah,
you want to manage someone, you want to control someone. And I'm just saying it because it sounds weird to say control someone.
Yeah, I like persuade. This is a good one, you guys. What do you think the difference is, one word, between persuasion and manipulation? It's intent. If my intentions are to have a long-lasting relationship, because when I teach the kind of version of tactical empathy, who I learned it from, to our new employees, the first people that see this go, this seems like manipulation. Everything can be used for good. Everything can be used for bad. Your cell phone, maybe you take jujitsu. These things can be used for both good and bad. What are your intentions? Right. Because the only people that use high-level emotional intelligence are either high-level sales individuals, collaborators, or psychopaths, because it's the quickest way to manipulate somebody. But in the case of the psychopath, your intuition will usually feel like, I feel like this person's manipulating me. And that's the difference.
Yeah, it'll feel wrong.
And I'm here to tell you, in no instance in your life, if you felt like something's wrong, is it ever right. It will always. Our intuition is almost like looking into the future. Most people just don't listen to it. You never say, I shouldn't have listened to my gut. You usually say, I should have listened to my gut.
Yes.
And that's what it is. Your gut's your intuition. And we're always taking in all this data all the time, taking in data. And when those 2 points kind of collect, your gut will tell you whether it's manipulation or persuasion.
Yeah, I love that. What advice would you give to somebody wanting to get into business or start a business? Something very real. Like what's that one piece or a few pieces of advice that you'd give?
The first thing I would say would be awareness. That I hear people say, I want to start my own business. I want to be an entrepreneur because I kind of want to dictate my own schedule and I want to have some freedom. Like, man, whoever told you that doesn't have a fucking clue. If you're starting a business for the first couple of years, you go to war every day because you got to get these reps in. You got to learn all these trials and tribulations that we were talking about before you can really have a good understanding of business. So I would say first thing would be situational awareness of around your business and the customer's expectations. And then the second thing I wish I knew much earlier would be empathy. What is the true definition of empathy and how can I deploy that in a manner that's going to benefit me and the business? A lot of people don't even know what the definition of empathy is. I think a lot of people, including myself, confused empathy with sympathy. And there's a massive difference. In my recollection of the definition of empathy, in layman's terms, would be empathy is when I can see the world through your eyes or your eyes. And if I can demonstrate what you're seeing through your eyes, you can have empathy with a terrorist. You don't have to like somebody. You don't have to know somebody. You don't even have to agree with somebody to have empathy for them. You just need to demonstrate to them that you understand what they're seeing. That doesn't mean I like it. That doesn't mean I agree with it. But when they can see that, only then will they come off their position or even open up to being collaborative. I'll give you a good example. My mother is probably the most stubborn, rigid individual that I know. And thank God she's on our team, okay? But only up until the last few years did I realize how to collaborate with her effectively without having to yell and scream at each other. Because like when she was in charge of designing all of our showrooms, she does very good at that. But when she has a thought in her head, she digs in on it and she very rarely will come off her position. Until I realized most people just want to be heard. They don't necessarily need to be right. They just want to know that their opinion was heard. So if I ever needed her to come off of her position, again, with good intentions, I would acknowledge what she is seeing or why she's defending that position. I see why you're doing that because of this, this, and this, and we did it last year and that was a success. And she goes, yeah, that's right. I said, would you kill me if I suggested a different thing? No, I wouldn't kill you. Again, the illusion of control. No, I wouldn't kill you. What do you think? Well, I was thinking we'd do this because of that. Oh my God, that's a brilliant idea. She would never talk like that before because I would never acknowledge how she got to her answer. Only when I was able to acknowledge the way she saw the world through her eyes was she willing to come off that position. And that's what empathy is. And if any individual starting a business, whether it be for sales or you need a coworker to do something, having empathy there's no skill set that's perfect, but in my research, empathy is what gives you the best opportunity to change positions, collaborate, persuade somebody into doing what you believe is best for both of you. You know, in sales, like because of movies and the way society portrays it, it's almost like I win means you lose. I won this sale. You lost. You know, like Wolf of Wall Street. But that's actually not true. You're not the enemy. The situation is the enemy. And we're both struggling with different components of this. And so if I can show you that I know how you're seeing this situation, only then will you come over to my side of the table or even listen to what's on my side of the table. So, you know, that's patience, all these soft skills that are involved with empathy is paramount to growing a business fast and profitable. Yeah. Because most businesses, I can start because I can just do it a little bit cheaper than them and I can limp into the market. The problem with that is you're already setting the table for a lower price in the market and you're not going to be able to scale your business because in a year or two, people need raises, inflation, you need to make capital investments in the business. And so if you're getting into a market just by being a cheaper guy, in most instances, that's a kiss of death. And so the only way to overcome those objections with the money is through being empathetic, in my opinion.
No, I love that. And I agree.
Tactically, too.
Yeah.
I'm not just saying like empathy. No, there's skills that can be done to show empathy without really doing it.
Right.
Like Dale, you remember Dale Carnegie? You hear Dale Carnegie. Dale Carnegie is like the most famous sales guru of all time. He's since passed, but it's a worldwide name. If you look up Dale Carnegie, they'd have these classes. They still have them. They're classes that teach people sales. Like you always put yourself in a position to husband and wife. Let's just pretend you guys are husband and wife.
We're getting there.
Oh, shit. Did we already pop the question?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So
Very recently, last week.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Hopefully that was a good decision for both of you. If I'm selling you guys a shower door, I would never just focus on one person. Dale Carnegie would say, you treat everybody equal and have respect for them. He also had a white paper that said, on average, if you're going to meet a new opportunity, you'll have to have 5 to 7 touches before we can do something collaborative, exchange money for goods and services. So you come into the showroom, or maybe I see you at a function, then you look at our website, then you call, then you come in the showroom, then we go out to your house to measure. You're getting those 5 to 7 interactions on average before you can do business. Okay? That's Dale Carnegie would say that. The social media has changed that for our business because I'm getting those touches. I'm getting them innocuously. So I do 6 posts a day, 6 days a week. I'm getting 36 touches. You don't even know it. And so when people come into the showroom now or see me, we're able to do business usually on the first or second touch. And it's not because anything else other than the social media is getting those innocuous touches that Dale Carnegie used to talk about.
Yeah, agree 100%. We literally were just talking about this the other day that, I was saying, I thought it was 7 to 12 around their touches, but today that has to, because of social media, that number has to be so much higher than those touches.
They're different touches now because remember before Dale Carnegie he passed well before social media was even a thing. So you'd say you'd fax, you'd call, you'd see at a function, they'd come in, you'd go there, you'd call.
And the amount of ads that are being pumped out. Today.
There's so much information to digest. But the innocuous touches through the social media saves us time. It's more of a long tail approach, but it saves us time because I only have to do one post to reach thousands of people. I don't have to touch each one of those thousands multiple times.
Right.
And that's condensed the sales process for us immensely. Immensely.
Keith, we're going to go into some rapid questions. These are fun, just random questions.
Good.
We'll go right into them. What digital or software tools do you use daily to make your life easier?
Oh, that's a good question. Ask me the question again.
What digital or software tools do you use daily to make your life easier?
Well, social media by far is my number one driver. I know CRMs are an important component in a lot of businesses. I guess it really depends on what your role is within the business. But for me, actively seeking new opportunities, whether it be for new employees, for HR reasons, or seeking out architects, builders, social media is the easiest tool for me to garner attention, to seek out these new opportunities. So social media platform by far is the best tool for me.
iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
If you can only eat one thing for the rest of your life, what would it be?
God, I can't believe you're asking me this today because I would eat.
Oh, yeah.
I could eat this microphone right now. I'm into that Gary Brecka fast right now. I'm literally I'm dying here. One food. I would say I would go water.
Water?
Yeah.
Do you prefer winter or summer?
Summer.
What is your favorite holiday?
Are we just picking from the 4 traditional holidays?
Anything.
Whichever holiday.
I consider my birthday holiday. I love my birthday. I get so much recognition on my birthday and spoiled. I love my birthday.
Do you prefer the beach or pool?
That's a good question too. It depends what I'm doing. I go beach.
Fifth Ave or Mercado?
Fifth Ave.
If you can only work 2 hours a week, what would you do in those 2 hours?
Social media.
A book you'd recommend to read?
Never Split the Difference.
If you can have lunch with anyone dead or alive, who would it be?
Chris Voss.
What's your favorite restaurant in Naples?
I'm going to give you this restaurant with a caveat because it's gone on social media. I'm giving this not because it's my favorite restaurant, but because it's my favorite dish.
Okay.
And it happens to be at this restaurant. It would be Bistro 821. They have this Chilean sea bass.
We gotta go.
The Chilean sea bass is their special. Like it's like dessert. It's so good.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna try that.
When you think of the word successful, who comes to mind?
My father.
If you can choose any other career path, what would it be?
I always wanted to be a trial attorney, but I was too lazy to study the books. But now, like getting into human interactions and debating and negotiating, I would be a defense attorney because they make a lot more money.
What's been your best investment?
In myself.
What's a bad piece of advice you've heard people telling others?
Well, your buddy there on the internet, persistence breaks down resistance, I think is a horrible piece of advice because it does not preserve the other side's autonomy.
How important is money to you?
That's a really good question. On the face, it's extremely important. It makes the world go, it makes life easier. However, when you get to a certain point of your life where you're not stressing about the money, because like in the beginning of a business, it's massively important, the money that comes in. Mm-hmm. But once the business is going, the money doesn't make deals, money breaks deals. In almost any instance, even your salary at your job, money doesn't build your career, it pays your bills. And so money is not the most important thing. The relationships are the most important.
My last question. Does money buy happiness?
I guess if you're shopping at the right stores, it can. But no, it does not.
No?
No.
Keith, thank you so much for your time today.
This is cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.